Welcome back to episode 5 of WTsF, where I answer questions from Reddit/streetfighter with in-game examples. I find the common themes for the week on Reddit. You vote for which things you'd like to see most, and then answer questions based on that theme. This week, what you'd like to see most is getting over getting stuck. If you'd like to take part in these polls, follow me at Behind the Wires on Twitter or at the HereFGC. I'll put links in the description for both of them. First question from MJMac1990, stuck in Ultra Bronze. I'm an Ultra Bronze Zangief that is struggling to beat any silvers. Now, MJMac1990 has left a CFN, so we're going to go into their replays and take a look, see what we can do to help. Right, so we're at 99 seconds, and we can already see Ryu walking backwards. You're doing the right thing by advancing straight away. And predictably, they jump into the air immediately. Now, because you're not dashing forwards and you're walking forwards, there is no excuse not to be able to anti-air this. Especially with a character like Zangief, where you've got a one-button lariat, which is a really strong anti-air for a lot of different scenarios. Instead, what happens is you block the jump in, and automatically you've got a Ryu in your face, and then you're going to have to deal with some things. So a nice meaty there, and then after that you managed to land a low attack, and then jumped into the air, which seemed a bit unnecessary at the time. We'll see how that plays out. Okay, so you managed to land a command throw off that, so regardless of whether or not that was the right choice, it doesn't matter. It played out at the end of the day. Typically, if you're on offense and you're on the ground and you've got frame advantage and there's no need to then take to the air, you've already actually managed to get in. So you try to get in there when you were already in, so it just seemed a little bit unnecessary. But yeah, it played out, and you got the command throw. However, after landing the command throw, you held back for some reason and just stood in that kind of mid-space. At this level of bronze and silver, it's worth just doing the dash there, whether or not you have Oki, just to see if they know. Because if they don't, that's a really good bit of information for you to have early on. Instead, they've got time to wake up, you're well out of range to actually land that command throw, and they get a nice easy DP off it. And interestingly enough, they do then take the advantage and maintain pressure on you. So one thing you should always have ready is a punish for a Dragon Punch, whether that's a big EX Dragon Punch that sends them up into the sky, or a faster light Dragon Punch like that one there. Have something ready for that scenario because it comes up a lot. Again, waking up with really high risk things there. You managed to block in time, but activating your V-trigger like that on wake up without any real reason to do so is just putting you in a risky situation. So they saw you were mashing your V-skill there, and they took advantage by just jumping in. Guaranteed combo for them, basically. If you feel yourself falling into regular patterns like that, obviously just be alert and be aware. So if you do press the same button twice, just look around and take a moment, wipe that slate clean every few seconds. Okay, all in all, they managed to make enough mistakes there. You managed to get 3 command throws in, I think, off the top of my head, and it was enough to close out the round. That said, there was still a lot of opportunities there where you could have really got in and finished that much sooner and much safer. So same thing again there, they're walking backwards then jumping in. Still no anti-air, you've got to be ready for that. That's what we want to see, is that dash up immediately after the command throw, which has you right on top of them again. This person didn't happen to actually quick rise, so now you're at a big advantage here. So let's see something that gives you some plus frames. So whether that's a normal or a nice meaty headbutt or a meaty command throw, the choice is yours at this point. Let's see what you go for. So crouch medium punch, good choice. On block or on hit, that's going to open up an opportunity there for a command throw, which it does. And then straight into the command throw. Again, great. You're identifying that after all these air-to-airs and the air resets and things like that, they're going for very heavy commitments or nothing at all because your command throws are landing. Until they give you a reason to stop doing that, keep doing that. So you're definitely making the right choice there. And that's the game. Most notably, you did the right thing here as well, which is not rematch that person because they're playing on an awful, awful stage for playing online. So I picked that game at random. You just so happened to win that one, but as shown there was a lot of opportunities that would allow you to win that quicker and safer. So yeah, have something ready for whenever a Dragon Punch gets blocked. Practice those lariat anti-airs and using V-skills and things like that to take some of those hits rather than blocking. And a big part of being a grappler is getting people afraid of being in your face. That Ryu didn't have much of a reason to not want to be in all of the time, and they've shown that. Also, as a grappler, as much as we're seen to be low IQ kind of people, there is a lot of frame data that comes into play there. Moments there where they're blocking headbutts and things like that are big opportunities for Zangief, and you don't have to keep trying to crack them open once you've already got those plus frames. You're in basically at that point. And of course, Oki. Until you see them pushing buttons on Wake Up on the ones where you don't have frame advantage, assume you do have frame advantage, and really get them to show that they know how to deal with a Zangief that's landed an SPD on them. Question 2 by Brody1103. How to help my friend learn. I've been playing fighting games for a long time now, around 10 years casually playing to actually learn for about 2 years. And I've convinced my friend to pick it up. I want to help him learn and enjoy the game, but if I go at full force, he'll just get upset and not want to play the game. What are your thoughts on situations like this? There's this wonderful thing called the Dreyfus Model of skill acquisition. Now, the Dreyfus Model itself is a theory of how people acquire skill over time, whether they're learning violin or anything. But you can see here, going from novice through to expert, that there's this rough kind of pattern of you start off by learning the rules and sticking to them very, very firmly. And then at this final bit, you reach this Zen-like state where you can kind of create your own rules and you have enough situational awareness that you can just adapt and play things as they come. Now, one thing they say about this model is that if you're here in the proficient section and you're talking to someone in this advanced beginner section, you're too many steps away from them, and them conversations can be very, very difficult because retrospectively you can't remember what breakthroughs you had to get you over the hurdles that they're currently trying to get through. And that's probably where you are with your friend at the moment. Say you're a competent player who knows a lot about your characters and your moves and how to put a basic game plan out there. This novice player is still learning the fundamentals like blocking and not jumping too much. If you think about, rather than dialing it all the way back to novice, but dialing it back to advanced beginner, that's where you need to be to show them what kind of breakthroughs they need to do to get to that next step. So if they are strictly adhering to a lot of basic rules of you have to do this in this situation, you're there in the advanced beginner section going, but in the corner, you don't want to do that. These are the things you want to do. And you're meeting them about half a step ahead of where they currently are. And it's an opportunity for you to test your knowledge by reining yourself in a little. Still not to the point where they would win frequently, but to a point where they can see the differences that you're making in the game versus what they are. Sometimes it's easiest to do this by picking a different character or picking the same character that they're using. It's an opportunity to learn in that sense. It's actually something I kind of do in these videos. If not trying it with new characters, you can try new concepts with your character. Maybe you're less offensive and you try to be more reactive and just focus on actually getting all of your conversions off with punishes. Then you're taking more difficult options and trying more difficult things in a safe learning environment where you know you're ultimately going to win against this other player. So it's good for both of you. And like I said, you're keeping it at a level where you're just half a step ahead of them rather than 2 or 3 steps ahead of them. Give them the chance to see what changes they need to make to their own game. Question 3 by Threshbot. Cammy feeling stuck in silver. Hi Reddit, I've been grinding casual games for a few days now to get used to silver players, but I feel like I have a 10% win rate against silvers. Could someone suss out my replays and tell me what I could improve on? Thanks for any advice in advance. Now, the heavy Dragon Punch is strike invincible, but not from the first frame. And that means that if they are mashing that on Wake Up, you can actually meaty that, which is to press one of your buttons a little ahead of them actually getting up, so that the active frames of your attack, the part where the attack is actually doing the damage, is occurring in those moments as they're standing up. So they are then forced to block, or they're going to get counter hit. So just know, if they actually want to not get meatied by an attack, they need to be doing their EX Dragon Punch. Ryu here hasn't actually even built up enough meter to do that, so you can go in with a lot of confidence there. Cammy is a big character when it comes to counter hits, so you've got a lot of options there with a lot of active frames that you can use to really capitalize on somebody waking up. And then basically the exact same thing actually happens there, but the other way around. You don't have enough meter to do an EX cannon spike, so you can't defend yourself against a meaty attack, and they land a meaty attack on you straight away. But that concept that they're doing on you right now is exactly what you should have been doing to them a few seconds prior, and then you wouldn't have been in this situation. So ultimately, not getting that meaty allowed them out of the corner, it allowed them to do damage to you, it then allowed them to stun you, and then you had no choice but to concede that round. One well-timed meaty there might have resulted in a completely different story for that round. And they actually did a light dragon punch this time. Now that has no invincibility against a ground attack, which means that you're guaranteed whatever button you press to win in that scenario. So it looks like that's something that you really need to focus on, is understanding how many knockdown frames you're generating when you're doing your EX cannon spikes and other really common things that earn you a knockdown, and then learning what are the optimal things that I can then do to cover their wake up. They're going to get countered, which is a good place for Kami. The Ryu mistimed their meaty that time. You woke up with a button, which is a good choice. You've got a little bit of frame advantage here. You could start mixing them up with a low or with a throw. We'll see what you do. Okay, covered the low. So this is quite a common thing to see in the lower ranks as well, is you did a jump in, they blocked everything, you then did another jump in, and they blocked everything again. Jump ins aren't the only way into an opponent, and if it is something that you're going to opt for, try mixing it up. So try starting with a jump in that leads to a combo, and then next time just try to do a little bit of tick throwing off it, you know, maybe a jab into a throw or something like that, to really get them thinking about whether or not they need to be blocking or backdashing or mashing to tech out a throw. Make them feel like they're guests. Take a block donkey kick to the lab and see if there's anything that your character has that's decent against that. I don't know Kami, but it's like minus double digits. And then that was quite a bold attempt there of a single hit confirm. Kami is known for having a lot of long block strings that allow her to confirm special attacks quite easily. If they get blocked like that again, they are very, very minus, and they get quite an easy punish on that. Kami shouldn't have any problem at that range with whiff punishing that. So if you are walking backwards, always be thinking about what kind of buttons you need to be pushing if they do stick something out into that space. You might have panicked, reacted a little bit too late there, and then you moved into that space and got dragon punched for it. And then the hard read at the end there, sometimes you've got to bet the farm, but it didn't work out for you that time. In a couple of places, it wasn't that final choice that got you knocked out, it was one step ahead of that. So if you're looking at your replays, look at what it is that's getting you knocked out, go back maybe one or two scenarios and just see how the Ryu managed to set that up, or how you allowed them to set that up. Lastly, just think about the archetype of the character you're playing there. Like I said, Kami is a great counter hitter. Try to take advantage of some of those counter hit opportunities there for you. That would have been things like the meaties and the whiff punishes. They really do play into how your character likes to be played. So have a little think about that when you're creating your game plans. And that's it for episode 5 of WTsF. Hopefully that's helpful for more than just the 3 people mentioned there. As always, their questions will be included in the description. The ability to go back and watch your replays and derive improvements from them, that's a skill in itself, and definitely something worth practicing. So I hope you'll give it a go, and I'll see you next week.